Hi, I'm Nathan Garcia, and I want to share with you a conversation that I had with Ben Winterroth of OFX. In this discussion, we talk about the ways that the average person can save money when they transfer US dollars into foreign currency. It doesn't matter if you're a retiree getting ready to take the trip of a lifetime to Italy, if you're looking to purchase a second home in Panama, or if you're a business that has relationships with international suppliers or accept foreign payment. International currency can be a complicated field, and thanks to the folks like Ben and companies like OFX, they have simplified the process to make it easy for you as an end user and also to give you some protections and security that you're not going to be afforded through some other vehicles. So I encourage you to watch this to the end, and if you think that it is valuable, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section and like the page. Thanks a lot.
So a lot of it is account management with current partners I have. A lot of the partners we have are, our bread and butter is kind of high net worth individuals. We have a lot of expats, a lot of people who are relocating for jobs, like I said, and then a lot of people purchasing property or supporting family overseas. That's kind of our bread and butter. Sure. So I guess our differentiator amongst not only our competitors, but the banks is going to be the rate that you're going to get with us and the elimination of fees. So typically, if someone were to go through their bank branch and do an international wire, they'd be going through something called the SWIFT network, which is a network of intermediary banks. So in an example where you have a U.S. customer who wants to send funds from the US to their account in the UK or paying a supplier in the UK, what they're going to do is the bank is going to charge three fees usually. There's going to be an outbound wire fee, there's going to be an intermediary fee, and then the bank on the other side usually charges a receiving fee because if you're sending from Bank of America in the US to a Barclays account in the UK, it's not the same bank. So they're each going to charge their own fees, and then there's going to be that intermediary bank along the way as well. Second of all, the originating bank, so Bank of America, usually charges a margin on the exchange rate. So if you go to Google and you search US dollar to British pound, you'll get, that's what's called the interbank or market rate. But clients don't get that rate, and so it's a little confusing. So banks typically take a percentage. It's about usually between 2 and 4% off that exchange rate. So it'll be a slightly worse rate than what you see online. And that's how they make their profit, is off that percentage off the exchange rate. And they can get away with that because people don't really know that there are alternatives out there. And so when we started 18 years ago, it was to create a better experience for people and then offer better exchange rates. So how we do that is actually really what differentiates us from everyone else. So in those 18 years, we've developed great banking relationships with 18 Tier A banks around the world. So these are the Bank of America, it's Deutsches, the Barclays, and we have 120 accounts, different foreign currency accounts throughout the world. So in that example of someone in the US sending funds to the UK, instead of going through that SWIFT international network and incurring all those margins and fees, essentially either we can ACH debit that client's account for the funds, in which there's no cost for that. That's how they fund the transfer, or they can do a domestic wire to our Bank of New York Mellon account in New York. And then once the US dollars are settled for that transfer, we will pay out the corresponding British pounds from actually our account in London. So we are just net settling our accounts basically. So once we receive the US dollars locally here in the US, we send the British pounds locally in the UK. And again, that allows us to be extremely efficient, and then we can pass those savings on to the customer. So, on the fee side, because we're eliminating those fees, The fees themselves that the banks will charge can be upwards of about $30 to $40 for each of those three fees. So you could be saving up to like $100 just, or $120 just on the fees. And then on the margins, instead of the, say, 2 to 4% that I referenced, we charge about 1% and under, depending on the transfer size. So we have actually an algorithm. So the more that you transfer, the larger the transfer, the better margin you're going to get, or the lower the margin you're actually going to get. So if you're buying a property, our margin can be as little as 0.25%. It's quite small. Yeah. So I think Bitcoin is extremely young, and I don't think the adoption is there. I think it's a great technology, and especially the payment rails that are built on blockchain. Certainly going to have a big influence in the future. But for now, it's pretty tough to actually do global money transfers in the form of Bitcoin or any of those cryptocurrencies. And also the regulation side. And so that's another aspect of global money transfers that people don't really think about. So because of anti-money laundering laws and anti-terrorist financing laws, companies like ourselves have to be licensed and regulated, not only in every state that we operate here in the US, but by the federal governing body FinCEN, and then also in every single country and region around the world that we operate in. So, in APAC and Europe and Middle East and Africa, we have to have licensing. So, again, it's all about, we've been in the business for 18 years. We're licensed by over 50 regulatory agencies worldwide. And that's probably another one of the big differentiators in terms of security of funds and getting those licenses. And it really boils down to the security of a customer's funds. They want to know that you're audited on an annual basis by federal regulators and that their money is safe with you. Again, nobody has a crystal ball, and if we did, we'd be extremely wealthy because we'd be able to plan out like which direction a currency is going to head. So it's really tough in that regard, but you just have to look at the general trend of a currency pair. The U.S. dollar has been hit pretty hard in the past few months. But you have to look at the historical range of where it is, and if it's still strong relative to where it was, a year or two ago, it might be still a good time to send some funds over to Europe. Now, in terms of the question whether you should use our company for currency diversification, actually we have people that do that. We don't really allow the use of our services for speculative trading necessarily. There's platforms out there like Oanda, and I think there are some other ones. Just to Trade is another one that is more of a currency trading platform. But if in the example of, is it your brother? So with us, it has to be a bank-to-bank transfer. So they would have to have either if they're sending it to themselves, they would have to have a bank account in the overseas location. Or if they are, say, paying, like tuition is a big one for us. We have a lot of students who are studying overseas. In the case of Oxford, they do accept bank transfers. So if you're, paying your tuition or you want to send your savings over for living expenses while you're there, that would be a great reason to use. Yeah, so we have so about 50% of our clients are private individuals. So the retirees, the expats, people who are relocating overseas. About 40% are SMEs, so just small to medium-sized enterprises. and they use us to pay overseas suppliers. They use us for treasury purposes, a bunch of different reasons on the corporate side to use us. And then 10% is actually a new solution that we offer, and it's for online sellers. So it's for merchants who are selling on international marketplaces. So if you are a UK merchant and you want to expand from Amazon or eBay in the UK and start selling in the US, what we do is we help them open US collection accounts or US bank accounts that Amazon can pay into, and then we repatriate that back to the UK at a much better rate than Amazon charges, because Amazon charges close to 4% due to that currency conversion, and we do it for 1% or under. So again, significantly cheaper. Yep. Yeah, so we can integrate with Shopify for Shopify buyers as well. I mean, it all depends on how much you want to save. I mean, if you're saving, let's say about 3% on your top line, I mean, that's whether your revenue is 20 grand, 100 grand, a million, that can make a difference. And again, like we don't charge any fees to set up these accounts for people. It's just pure savings. So there's really no reason, not to use a service like ours. No, so we're not a bank, so we're not FDIC assured, insured, but we do have, especially through our strict regulation here in the U.S. and overseas, is that we have surety bonds that are guaranteed towards our average daily transaction value. So that's sort of the way that we insure all of our transfers.